if you say a parent has a junior high school player, some of the things that they should look out for or be, what kind of advice would you give a parent of a junior high player that people think that they're going to be something? And what should they look out for?
So first thing is I would tell the parent to focus on the kid's skill set, focus on the kid getting better in the situations that can make the kid better. Because there's nothing wrong with a kid that, isn't quite quote unquote the top tier middle school player, and he flourishes as a junior, senior, because the cycle for every kid is different. So you have some kids that are high level elementary school players, they drop down to mid-level middle school players, and high school players. They are on the lower tier of that scenario because they peak too early. Middle school wise, I say focus on the work, because you never want a child to peak too early. You never want a parent to get, hopefully parents are humble and brought into the process, but you never want them to get too high on the horse in regards to kids, because in the big scheme of things, in the high school recruiting world, it's millions of kids are being looked at. But at the same time, the kid focus on their work, focus on their individual skill set, focus on their grades, because that's another thing that's hurting some of our athletes, is the lack of emphasis in the middle school and how that transitions to the high school, because these GPAs are important. The classes that they're taking are important. So focus on the work, maintaining and growing your skill set, and adding facets to your game, working on it consistently, and being diligent and taking the time to really take your schoolwork serious. Now, the two main things that I would tell any middle school parent or player are the things that will be keys to success. Because peaking too early is not a great thing. Peaking late is not a bad thing. Consistently increasing is what you want to go, but at the same time, the work is what it takes, and staying on top of the work, being committed to the work, and the process itself will just continue to get better, and focusing on your schoolwork. And
Havoc Basketball, we're talking Chris Johnson here. It's crazy when you're talking peaking at maybe junior high, but I do remember kids who were they were the it in junior high, and then they get to high school, maybe they're not it. All right, so we have let's talk to high school parents now.
High school parents, I think the first thing is, number one, and it's gonna sound crazy when I say this, but from the high school piece, the high school basketball is going through a transfer portal now too. Kind of weird, but that's kind of what it is as well. So kids that are in one high school one year, they may or may not be at that high school the next year. Whereas traditionally, old school wise, you're at one high school, you stay at that one high school for 4 years until you graduate. That's traditionally what we see, growing up. At this point, I hate to call it a high school transfer portal, but the fluctuation of players from school to school may change from year to year, or every other year may be a change. So
that right there is something, because before, when a player was pretty good, and then they were at one school, and then the next year they're at a different school, everybody looked at that as scandalous. The family moved. Next thing you know, people would always think there's some shenanigans. But in reality, you're saying today, that's the world we live in.
In today's basketball world, that is common. And in old school traditions is frowned upon, but at the same time, in today's world, is common. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It really depends on the situation. So I don't want to speak badly of anybody that partakes in it. That's just the nature of it. So if I'm a high school parent, what I want to do is, if I got a rising ninth grader, I really want to do my due diligence into finding out what I can about these high schools. Because number one, the more information you gather will hopefully help you make the right decision from a high school standpoint. And it actually will help you for your college selection process as well, because it's a similar process. Just the areas are bigger, because you're covering colleges rather than high schools. You're covering, the actual cities and states that a kid may have to go to, compared to a small locality that a high school may be in. But it really helps with that process. But high school parents,
it's something when you look at the opportunities that are out there for the students these days. I would think so. That probably works out pretty good because back in, like I said, don't want to sound like the old man, but back in the day, if I'm a big man and the coach that school that I went to is used to running, like the small ball, I may be lost in the mix.
Depending on what you're playing in, yes.
So now what we do is I got a kid, ninth grader, 6'5", whatever he is. We take his, as LeBron said, we take his talents to the place they can develop it.
Yeah, so that's the other part of it. So in choosing the right school, number one, it's about the right curriculum. So public or private is a choice, but at the same time, it's about the education curriculum that your child needs. And it's about, if your child's a basketball player, the basketball program itself. The coaches may come and change, but you really want to pay attention to the program, the success of the program, whether it's the emphasis of the program, make sure that, in my opinion, make sure that they focus on development, because there are two ways of achieving success. First way is growing and developing to attain that stature. The other way is having the ability to, bring guys in to help attain that stature. Either way is still to change the championship level. And that's what everybody wants to do, a championship level of success, a championship level of mind frame. But at the same time, make sure you're making the right choice for what best fits your child.
There you go, Chris Johnson. You're talking. As we get ready to get out, I got one question. You had touched on the GPA aspect. And like I said to you, there's Havoc basketball, there's the basketball portion, and there's the business side. On this side, it's the business side, and then the GPA school books and the grade side. Touch on that aspect and why that's so important.
Well, it's important just because of the factors that are out there that are that boxes that have to be checked to make you number one eligible, and number two make that school to offer you, and for you to have the requirements that school needs for you to accept that offer. And that's a big difference. So a school can offer a player, but a player may not have the GPA, the courses required to accept that offer, which then may make a player either have to use another school, or they may have to go another school route, whether it be a JUCO or a post grad, to help with that, getting the GPA to a certain point so you then can attain that scholarship, accept that offer.
Alrighty, coaches here. How can people find Havoc basketball information?
Oh man,